David Taylor and Michelle Brannon are accused of using religious beliefs to prey on their victims for their own personal financial gain.
For years, Pastor David E. Taylor has been a figure surrounded by devotion, controversy, and intense public attention. His ministry attracted passionate supporters, outspoken critics, and countless headlines that fueled debate across religious circles.
David Taylor, who refers to himself as apostle and Jesus' best friend, and his second-in-command, Michelle Brannon, lured people in nationwide with promises to fulfill their spiritual hunger.
But now, a development being described as final has left many asking whether this truly marks the end of an era. So, what led to this moment? How are followers responding? And what does it mean for the legacy he leaves behind? The answers reveal a story filled with controversy, influence, and questions that continue to spark discussion today. Forced labor church indictment case. Federal prosecutors in the United States have brought serious criminal charges against church leader David E. Taylor and several senior members linked to the Kingdom of God Global Church, accusing them of running what authorities describe as a large, long-term forced labor and financial crime operation. According to reports, investigators allege that the church structure was used not only for religious activities, but also as a system for generating large sums of money through pressured labor and donation drives that spanned many years. At the heart of the indictment are claims that certain individuals were recruited or drawn into church-run call centers where they were expected to work without pay. Prosecutors say these workers were placed under strict control and were required to meet demanding daily or weekly fundraising targets. Those who failed to meet these expectations, according to court documents, allegedly faced harsh consequences. These reportedly included public shaming, forced long hours with little or no sleep, limited access to food or basic rest, and intense repentance sessions that were presented in a spiritual context. Authorities also allege that warnings of spiritual punishment were used as a form of pressure to keep workers compliant. The indictment further claims that this system was not limited to one location. Instead, it allegedly operated across multiple U.S. states, including Michigan, Florida, Texas, and Missouri, over a period of roughly 10 years. During this time, prosecutors estimate that the operation helped raise around $50 million in donations. They further allege that a significant portion of these funds was not used for charitable or ministry purposes, but instead supported luxury lifestyles tied to church leadership. This reportedly included expensive homes, high-end vehicles, and other personal or organizational assets. Investigators also describe a tiered structure within the organization, where certain followers were assigned roles such as armor bearers. These individuals, according to prosecutors, were expected to carry out personal services for church leaders in addition to their fundraising responsibilities, further blurring the line between spiritual service and labor exploitation. The case also includes allegations that some individuals experienced heavy control over their personal lives. Prosecutors say there were restrictions on movement, communication with outsiders, and even personal relationships, creating an environment of isolation. Some workers, they argue, were pressured to remain within church compounds or ministry settings for long periods while working exhausting schedules. Church representatives, however, strongly reject all accusations. They insist that the ministry is being misrepresented and argue that all participants willingly joined and served as part of their faith commitments. Supporters of the church have described the case as an unfair attack on religious practice and freedom. Federal authorities maintain that the matter is not about faith itself, but about alleged abuse, coercion, and financial misconduct. The case is still ongoing in federal court, where David E. Taylor and his co-defendants face multiple serious charges that could lead to significant prison sentences if they are ultimately found guilty. What seemed to have worsened the case for David E. Taylor? Was there clear evidence against him? Let's delve into the details of the 5 shocking discoveries investigators reportedly found inside David Taylor's residence. Wealth and power. under legal scrutiny. Federal investigators who searched several properties linked to church leader David E. Taylor reported uncovering a wide range of expensive items that, according to prosecutors, point to a highly luxurious lifestyle allegedly supported by a long-running scheme involving forced labor and money laundering. These discoveries were detailed in court records and highlighted by Click on Detroit, drawing significant public attention because of the scale and value of what was found. One of the most striking findings was a collection of gold bars valued at around $500,000. Investigators said these gold bars were discovered inside the residence among other stored valuables. The presence of such a large amount of precious metal added weight to government claims that substantial wealth had been accumulated and stored in private hands linked to the ministry's operations. Authorities also reported finding about $60,000 in cash inside the home, along with bundles of foreign currencies. The mix of different currencies suggested, in the view of investigators, that funds may have moved through multiple channels or been kept in various forms, rather than deposited through standard financial systems. These financial discoveries were presented as part of a broader attempt to trace how money flowed within the organization. In addition to cash and gold, investigators pointed to a secured safe that contained a collection of valuable jewelry. Court documents described the pieces as high-end and significant in value, with enough importance to be formally recorded as evidence in the ongoing case. While the exact details of each item were not fully disclosed in public reports, the jewelry was noted as another example of concentrated personal wealth found during the search. The search also revealed a large collection of luxury goods, including designer clothing and expensive handbags. According to investigators, these items were found in various parts of the residence and were presented as further indicators of an extravagant lifestyle maintained alongside the ministry's activities. Outside the main residence, authorities documented several high-end vehicles parked on the property. These included 7 Mercedes-Benz cars and 2 Bentley sedans, both brands widely associated with luxury and wealth. In addition to the vehicles, the property featured decorative stone statues and ornate pillars, giving the surroundings an especially grand and elaborate appearance. Prosecutors referenced these details as part of their broader argument about the level of opulence connected to the ministry's leadership. These findings emerged while David E. Taylor and another ministry leader, Michelle Brannon, faced federal charges related to alleged forced labor and money laundering. Both individuals have denied any wrongdoing, and supporters of the ministry argue that the case is being misrepresented or unfairly pursued. The matter is still before the courts, and none of the allegations or interpretations of the evidence have been proven at trial. How is David E. Taylor able to gather so much from the ministry? How big is the ministry? Let's dive into the details of David E. Taylor's expanding ministry, extraordinary claims, and the viral moments that brought him global attention. Prophetic ministry and controversy. Unveiled. Since 2008, David E. Taylor has led Joshua Media Ministries International, JMMI, as its president and chief executive officer, guiding it as it expanded into a wide network of affiliated expressions such as Kingdom Family Church, KFC, Resurrection Media Ministries, RMM, and Kingdom of God Global Church, KOGGC. Official tax records describe the organization's core mission as the global spread of the message of Jesus Christ, with a strong focus on evangelism, teaching, and media outreach. Over the years, the ministry expanded beyond a single location, establishing active centers across several U.S. states. These locations served as places of worship, while also supporting outreach programs, prayer lines, media broadcasts, and fundraising efforts. What sets Taylor apart is his claim of ongoing face-to-face encounters with Jesus Christ. He teaches that these visions and dreams provide continuous guidance, influencing his leadership, biblical interpretations, and understanding of future events. Through sermons, conferences, books, and media broadcasts, Taylor often presents these experiences as part of a larger prophetic framework. He has at various times linked them to messages about the future of the United States, global political shifts, and end times scenarios, presenting his ministry as one that not only teaches faith, but also interprets unfolding world events through a spiritual lens. Throughout his career, he has shared platforms or maintained associations with well-known figures in charismatic Christianity, including Benny Hinn, Catherine Kuhlman, Rod Parsley, and Terry McAlmon. These connections have helped increase his visibility among followers of prophetic and healing ministries, strengthening his recognition within that segment of global Christianity. However, his ministry has also drawn significant criticism and public debate. Some of his extraordinary claims have been questioned by observers, especially his testimony that a woman was allegedly raised from the dead after he ministered to her through a Facebook connection. Public scrutiny reached a new level in 2015 when video clips from Taylor's testimony during a church member's divorce proceedings surfaced online. The footage spread rapidly across social media, sparking widespread discussion. For many viewers, it revealed a highly unusual ministry style and intensified attention on a movement already known for bold prophetic declarations, controversial claims, and a strong personality-driven leadership approach. What was said about his family? What kind of marriage did he have? Let's dig into the details of claims made by Pastor David E. Taylor's ex-wife about his marriage, affairs, and pregnancy before marriage. Allegations of a troubled marriage. In a detailed and emotional testimony shared through a Facebook Live broadcast, Tabitha Taylor, the former wife of controversial church leader David E. Taylor, opened up about what she described as deep and painful struggles within their relationship from the very beginning. According to her account, the foundation of their union was far from stable, marked by serious moral and marital concerns that she says began even before they officially became husband and wife. She alleged that issues such as multiple extramarital relationships and an unplanned pregnancy formed part of the early story of their connection. Tabitha explained that she met Taylor during the early growth phase of his ministry. At the time, she described herself as a young and devoted believer who was eager to serve God and fully involved in church life. She said she was strongly drawn to his spiritual leadership and message, which gradually led to a closer personal relationship. However, what started as admiration for his ministry, she claimed, slowly crossed emotional and personal boundaries before marriage was ever formally established. She further alleged that during this period, Taylor was involved with several other women, claiming repeated acts of unfaithfulness, even while publicly presenting himself as a committed minister of God. According to her, this situation brought emotional confusion, inner conflict, and spiritual struggle. Yet she said she remained in the relationship at the time because she believed it aligned with her faith journey and sense of commitment. A major turning point in her testimony was her claim that she became pregnant before their marriage took place. She described this as an unexpected development that eventually pushed both of them toward marriage, rather than a carefully planned or fully prepared union. Looking back, she characterized these events as decisions made under emotional pressure and strong spiritual influence, rather than clear judgment. Tabitha also stated that the problems did not end after marriage. She alleged that the same patterns of infidelity and mistrust continued, gradually weakening the relationship and deepening marital distress. She explained that her decision to speak publicly was motivated by a desire to warn others in the Christian community about what she described as manipulation, hidden misconduct, and unhealthy dynamics within certain leadership environments. Her testimony has since spread widely across media platforms discussing controversies linked to David E. Taylor and his ministry. While she presents her account as personal experience and cautionary reflection, the claims remain part of ongoing public debate and have not been independently verified in court. Overall, her story portrays a marriage shaped by early pregnancy, alleged repeated infidelity, emotional strain, and the complexities of life within a highly influential ministry setting. Has Taylor's path been influenced by his background? What was growing up like for him? Let's take a look at the early life, spiritual turning point, and path into ministry of David Edward Taylor. From struggle to spiritual calling. David Edward Taylor was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, as the seventh child in a large family of 9 children. He grew up in a home where faith was not just a belief, but a daily way of life. His parents, Reverend James Houston Carl Taylor and Katie Mae Burford Taylor, were deeply involved in church ministry and spiritual service. Because of this, Taylor was exposed very early to Christian teachings and church activities. He experienced different expressions of worship, especially within Pentecostal and Baptist traditions. This early exposure gave him a wide understanding of Christian practices, prayers, and preaching styles, shaping his spiritual awareness from childhood. However, despite this strong religious foundation, Taylor later spoke openly about a difficult and restless teenage period. He described his adolescent years as a time when he moved away from the values he was taught at home. According to his own account, he became influenced by his environment and was drawn into what he calls a worldly lifestyle. This included street influence and involvement with gang-related activity. During this period, his life reflected a clear tension between the spiritual upbringing he received and the realities of the surroundings he found himself in. It was a time marked by inner struggle, confusion, and a search for identity. A major turning point in Taylor's personal story, as recorded in his ministry background, came when he was 17 years old. He claims that during this time he had a powerful spiritual experience in which he encountered Jesus in a dream. Describing it as a face-to-face meeting, Taylor interprets this moment as a direct and life-changing encounter with God. He has often referred to it as the moment that transformed his direction in life. Following this experience, he states that he made a personal decision to turn away from his previous lifestyle and fully commit himself to Christianity. He describes this as being born again, marking a complete spiritual renewal. From his perspective, this experience became the foundation of his life's purpose. It signaled the beginning of a new identity, where he saw himself not just as a young man changing his ways, but as someone chosen for a specific spiritual mission. This belief shaped his confidence that his life had been redirected toward ministry and service. After completing his early education, Taylor went on to study at Johnson & Wales University, where he graduated in 1992. Instead of following a traditional professional career path after university, he chose to focus his energy on ministry work. This decision marked the beginning of his journey into full-time religious service, eventually leading to the growth of a ministry platform built around his teachings, testimonies, and personal account of his spiritual encounter. Does Taylor stand a chance to win the case surrounding his wealth? What exactly is known about his wealth? Let's take a look at the wealth, lifestyle, and controversies surrounding Pastor David E. Taylor. The debate around David Taylor. Pastor David E. Taylor, the founder of Joshua Media Ministries, is a religious leader whose life and ministry have drawn both admiration and strong criticism over the years. While some followers see him as a powerful voice in modern Christianity, others question the financial structure and lifestyle connected to his ministry work. Public financial estimates place his net worth somewhere between $100,000 and $1 million. This wealth is said to come mainly from his work as a pastor, ministry engagements, and related religious activities. On paper, this figure may appear relatively modest compared to many global religious leaders. However, the discussion around Taylor is not only about what is officially reported, but also about what is seen and claimed by critics. Over time, questions have been raised about the difference between his reported income and the level of luxury associated with his ministry operations. Observers and critics point to reports of expensive properties, high-value assets, and large-scale ministry facilities that seem to suggest access to greater financial resources than publicly stated figures reflect. These perceived gaps have led to ongoing debates about how donations and ministry funds are managed, recorded, and spent. One of the most frequently mentioned issues is the reported purchase or use of high-value real estate for ministry purposes, including claims of an $8.3 million mansion connected to church activities. Such reports have sparked wider public curiosity and concern, especially among those who expect strict financial transparency from religious organizations that rely heavily on donations from followers. Alongside financial questions, Taylor has also faced a range of serious allegations over the years. These include accusations related to financial misconduct, controlling leadership practices, and concerns about internal ministry operations. These claims have attracted media attention and public discussion, leading to investigations and further debate. However, it is important to note that they remain allegations and are part of an ongoing public controversy rather than fully established findings. Pastor Taylor has consistently denied all wrongdoing. He maintains that his lifestyle and ministry resources are not the result of misconduct, but rather evidence of divine favor and the practical needs of managing a large and expanding global ministry. He has also strongly rejected negative narratives about his work, describing much of the criticism as unfair, exaggerated, or driven by misunderstanding. Beyond the individual case, the situation has sparked broader conversations about accountability in religious institutions. Many critics argue that ministries handling large donations should operate with higher levels of financial openness and clearer reporting systems. Supporters, on the other hand, believe that Taylor's ministry continues to fulfill a spiritual mission, and that criticism often overlooks its religious impact and outreach. In the end, Pastor David E. Taylor remains a deeply divisive figure. To some, he represents a successful modern preacher leading a global ministry. To others, he symbolizes the ongoing debate over money, power, and accountability in religious leadership today. So, what do you think about Pastor David Taylor's case? Do you really think he can come out clean? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.